what we have coming up is the Tour of Spain, the Vuelta a España, and we need to dive into one of the biggest teams out there, Team Ineos Grenadiers, who won the Giro d'Italia, kind of flopped at the Tour de France. If we call Richard Carapaz's third place overall flop, but they're going into the Vuelta a España with a pretty decent team that includes Adam Yates, who I thought was going to be the leader all along in 2021 at the Vuelta a España. Egan Bernal coming back after winning the Giro d'Italia. His first race back was Classica San Sebastian. He's racing in Burgos now, which started today. And of course, Richard Carapaz, who won the gold medal at the Olympics, third place overall in the Tour de France.
It's going to be, the wealth of talent for Ineos at at the Vuelta. And again, I think they're going to be in a position where, much like at the Tour de France this year, they're not committed to a single guy. Well, they might say they are, but ultimately they're not. They've got too many strong guys, and typically, similar to what happens with like Team Movistar as well. They bring a bunch of good guys, but they're not committed to a guy. And when that happens, it's generally not a good thing. Generally, if they're not committed to one leader, they're going to start playing their cards, waiting to see what happens. And in that case, they start to hesitate. Their tactics don't play out that well.
I don't know, Alex. I'm going to have to disagree with you. I mean, don't you need a lot of cooks in the kitchen in today's cycling? We saw at the Tour de France where, a crash can take out a lot of the team. And it was a case at the Tour de France where had they not had Richard Carapaz, they lost Geraint Thomas in that crash while he was injured and carrying it all the way out through the Tour. I mean, don't you need a lot of options at the Tour de France? At the Vuelta a España?
Well, at any race, you need options. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you also need to focus. And if there isn't a focus around a team, it's a recipe for disaster. We've seen it time and again. Even going back to telecom days.
What about Egan Bernal? We were talking a little bit before this, and of course you worked all day commentating for the Vuelta a Burgos, and you mentioned the cameras didn't catch him, but you mentioned Egan Bernal hit the ground.
Yeah, he hit the floor about 20K to go. There was crosswinds all day in the first stage of Vuelta a Burgos today, and the cameras didn't show it, but it was a straight road, guardrails on both sides, pretty wide road. It wasn't narrow, but there was crosswind. You could see the bushes blowing. All of a sudden, the camera pans, and there's 20 guys on the floor, including Adam Yates, 3 guys from Ineos. And it couldn't tell who it was right away. And then you saw some of the guys from the Ineos guys were just standing waiting. And I said, Bernal's down, because they're waiting for him. And he stayed on the floor for a while before he got up. And they just ended up rolling to the line out of GC. I think it was more like, 15 minutes down or something. I have to check the results, but they were definitely out of GC. So Bernal is more or less, using Burgos as training for the Vuelta. They were doing anyways, but probably just now start targeting stage wins versus overall. So it seemed like he finished. It seemed like Adam Yates finished, but it didn't seem like they were, not able to continue, so that's good news for them.
Yeah, Richard Carapaz is not in the race. He's coming from Tokyo. He'll be going right into the Vuelta a España. My guess is it will be Adam Yates who will be the leader. Of course, Egan Bernal has the Palmars with the Tour de France and the Giro d'Italia overall victories are under his belt. Adam Yates, of course, he transferred over to Team Ineos this last winter. He used to always ride with his twin brother, Simon Yates, at Team Bike Exchange. So now he's in the team. This is his chance, his only Grand Tour this year, his chance to lead a Grand Tour team or to be one of the leaders, in this case with Ineos. I think he'll be the chosen one, but in this case, the road's going to decide how well is Egan Bernal going to be after the Burgos, how well is Richard Carapaz doing after such a big race schedule with the Tour de France and the Olympics. So the road will decide. Another man in that team, another Olympic gold medalist is Tom Pidcock, who won his gold medal in the mountain bike discipline. He's joining Richard Carapaz, who will bring along his gold medal from the road race. Pidcock's going to be an interesting one. Tom Pidcock, I think he's still 15 years old, first Grand Tour, and what's possible for him in this Tour de France? In this Vuelta a España.
Yeah, for Pidcock, I think being training for the mountain bike race at the Olympics is so much different than training for the Vuelta or even a long single day classic like San Sebastian, which you didn't do. But I have to think he's there as a support rider. There's no way he's going to be there to try to win the Vuelta, as talented as he is. And the other thing I have to say is, riding the Tour de France, and then the Vuelta back to back like that is super hard in today's world. Back in the day, it certainly was possible, but now it's. I think the intensity of the racing is so much harder. I just have a hard time believing anyone who's done the Tour is going to do well at the Vuelta. So I think you're right, Adam Yates. Having not done the Tour. I think he's going to be in a good position once he gets his legs under him. Hopefully, this crash today in Burgos hasn't hurt him too badly. But just getting some race miles here at Burgos, I think now he's going to be coming up in form for the Vuelta. I think it'll play into his hands for sure.
And it's going to be cool to see Pidcock in there, right? Like you said, probably going for stage wins, and such a dynamic rider as well.